Football is a game of goals, but Helenio Herrera, the man who built his legacy on stopping them, changed everything. At a time when attacking football ruled, Herrera introduced a system so disciplined and calculated that it turned the football world upside down. His creation, Catenaccio, didn't just win titles, it completely shifted the way football was played. Some saw him as a genius who changed the sport forever. Others considered him the villain who killed football's creativity and flair. So what was Helenio Herrera really about? Was he the mastermind who mastered the game, or the destroyer of its soul? To understand the man behind Catenaccio, we need to take a closer look at how he built a dynasty with defense, and why his legacy still sparks intense debate to this day. Helenio Herrera's early life, shaped by adversity. Helenio Herrera's journey to football greatness started far from Europe's grand stadiums. Born in Buenos Aires, Argentina in 1910, his early life was marked by poverty and struggle. His family, of Spanish descent, faced hardships that were common in Argentina at the time. Herrera's childhood wasn't one of privilege, but instead one defined by resilience. At a young age, his family moved to Morocco in search of better prospects, and it was there that Herrera's love for football truly blossomed. In Morocco, football wasn't just a pastime, it was a way of escaping the harsh realities of life. Young Herrera spent countless hours playing the game barefoot in the streets, often using makeshift balls and goalposts. The game became his refuge, a place where he could dream and forget about the struggles his family faced. His passion for football grew with each passing day, but despite his love for the game, Herrera wasn't a prodigy. In fact, he was far from it. His playing career was modest at best. He played as a defender in several smaller clubs, but never rose to prominence as a player. Yet even as a player, Herrera's mind was always analyzing. He had an innate understanding of the game, seeing patterns and systems others missed. It was during this time that he realized his true potential lay not on the pitch, but on the sidelines. Herrera's journey from player to coach wasn't about following in others' footsteps. It was about creating his own path. His early coaching career began in modest settings, first in France, then in Spain, managing clubs that didn't have the same star power as Europe's giants. Yet Herrera's ambition was always apparent. He wasn't content with just managing a team. He wanted to build a system that would forever change football. Herrera studied the game obsessively, learning everything he could about tactics, psychology, and team dynamics. His vision was clear. Football wasn't just physical, it was psychological. The mental strength of a team could be just as powerful as their technical ability. This belief would become the cornerstone of his coaching philosophy, and it would set him apart from his peers. Herrera didn't just want his teams to play well, he wanted them to think differently. He understood that a winning mentality could be cultivated, and he instilled this into every player under his tutelage. The birth of Catenaccio, a radical shift in football. By the time Herrera arrived at Inter Milan in 1960, he was already known as a coach with a unique vision. Having developed his ideas over years of observation and experimentation, Herrera was ready to implement his innovative tactics at a high level. One of his key inspirations was the Swiss Verrou system, a defensive strategy that focused on locking down the opposition's attacks. But Herrera wasn't just going to replicate the system, he was going to reinvent it. Catenaccio, which means door bolt in Italian, became Herrera's trademark. His version of Catenaccio revolutionized the game by turning defense into a weapon. The core of Catenaccio was simple, a rock-solid defense with the libero, or sweeper, positioned behind the defenders to clean up any threats that passed through. It was a tactical innovation that gave defenders the freedom to cover more ground without sacrificing defensive stability. The sweeper's role was pivotal. They weren't just a last line of defense. They were the safety net, the one who could neutralize any danger and allow the team to transition to counterattack with speed. At a time when most teams focused on outscoring their opponents, Herrera's philosophy was different. If the other team can't score, they can't win. Herrera's Catenaccio wasn't just about stopping goals. It was about suffocating the opponent's creativity, limiting their space, and forcing them into mistakes. While it was a highly defensive system, Catenaccio was more than just about parking the bus. Herrera's teams were trained to transition quickly from defense to attack, exploiting the smallest gaps in their opponent's formation. The system demanded precision, discipline, and intelligence from every player, especially the defenders. Inter Milan, under Herrera's guidance, became a team that could dominate the game not by attacking relentlessly, but by controlling every inch of the field. The glory years with Inter Milan. Helenio Herrera's tactics quickly turned Inter Milan into a European powerhouse. When he took over in 1960, the club was far from the dominant force it would become. But by the mid-60s, La Grande Inter was born, a team synonymous with discipline, efficiency, and ruthlessness. Herrera's influence turned Inter Milan into the best defensive team in the world. Key players like Giacinto Facchetti, a dynamic left-back, and Sandro Mazzola, a forward with extraordinary vision, thrived under Herrera's system. Facchetti, with his pace and attacking ability, was the perfect example of Herrera's vision, transforming defensive players into attackers at the right moments. Mazzola, on the other hand, was the creative force who could make the most of Catenaccio's counterattacks, ensuring that Inter was never just sitting back but ready to strike when the opportunity arose. The peak of Herrera's reign came in 1964 and 1965, when Inter Milan won back-to-back European Cups, cementing their place in history. These victories were not just about the tactics, they were proof that Catenaccio could triumph at the highest level. In the 1964 European Cup final, Inter defeated Real Madrid 3-1, shutting down the attacking stars of the legendary Spanish team. The following year, Inter defeated Benfica 1-0 in a gritty final, a testament to the defensive discipline and quick counterattacks that defined Herrera's tactics. But it wasn't just Herrera's tactical brilliance that set him apart. It was his ability to inspire and motivate his players. He was a master of discipline, constantly pushing his players to be physically and mentally sharp. His motivational tactics were legendary, with slogans like "Class plus preparation equals victory" pinned up in the locker rooms, reminding the team that success didn't come from talent alone. It came from hard work, commitment, and belief in the system. Herrera's psychological approach went beyond tactics, creating a winning culture that transcended his time at Inter Milan. The controversy, art or anti-football. Despite the success, Herrera's Catenaccio was divisive. To his supporters, it was a tactical masterpiece, a system that focused on collective discipline and strategy. To his critics, it was anti-football, a system that suffocated the creative, attacking side of the game. The very idea of prioritizing defense over flair seemed like a betrayal to fans who loved the artistry and excitement of attacking football. Matches under Herrera's reign often became wars of attrition, where Inter Milan's defense smothered opponents, reducing the match to a slow, tactical grind. The few goals that did come were often the result of a swift counterattack or set piece, further fueling the debate over whether Catenaccio was truly a beautiful style of football. For many, the idea of football as an art form seemed lost. Herrera was unfazed by the criticism. He believed that the primary goal of football was to win, not to entertain. "The perfect game," he once said, "is a game that ends 1-0. For him, football was a strategy game, a chess match where the aim was to outsmart the opponent, not just to outplay them. His view was clear: if a team could not score, they could not win, and that was the ultimate beauty of football. Tactical legacy: how Catenaccio influenced modern football. Even as Catenaccio fell out of favor in the later years, its influence on modern football is undeniable. The emphasis on defensive organization, discipline, and swift counterattacks has remained at the core of many successful teams, particularly in more defensive-minded leagues. Managers like Jose Mourinho and Diego Simeone have openly acknowledged Herrera's influence. Mourinho, known for his tactical genius, has employed similar defensive strategies to frustrate the opposition while ensuring his teams remain a constant threat on the counter. Simeone, with his Atletico Madrid team, has built a reputation for defensive solidity and efficient attacking play, traits that can be traced back to Herrera's Catenaccio. Moreover, Herrera's focus on the psychological aspects of coaching, motivating players, fostering team unity, and building a strong mental game has been adopted by many modern coaches. His belief that a team's mentality could be just as important as its skill laid the groundwork for a new era of coaching that values discipline and mental toughness just as much as flair and technique. The end of an era, Catenaccio's decline. Despite its success, Catenaccio gradually lost its effectiveness as football evolved. The rise of more fluid, attacking styles of play, especially after the 1970 World Cup, pushed defensive systems to the margins. Teams that embraced speed, creativity, and ball control began to dominate. Herrera himself faced challenges as his once perfect system became vulnerable to the dynamic attacking tactics of newer teams. By the early 1970s, the world saw a new wave of attacking football, with teams like Brazil and Total Football from the Netherlands shifting the focus back to creative play and fluidity. Herrera's Catenaccio, while still a foundational tactic, began to show its age as football became more dynamic and open. Helenio Herrera's legacy. Despite the decline of Catenaccio as the go-to tactic, Herrera's legacy endures. He didn't just win titles, he fundamentally changed the way we understand football strategy. Whether seen as a visionary or a disruptor, Herrera's influence on the game cannot be overstated. More than anything, Helenio Herrera proved that football is as much about mental strength and strategic thinking as it is about flair and creativity. His revolutionary tactics, though controversial, shaped football in a way few others could ever hope to match. He demonstrated that success wasn't always about having the most talented players. It was about crafting a system that maximized each player's strengths and minimized their weaknesses. So, was Helenio Herrera's Catenaccio a stroke of genius or a betrayal of football's beauty? Some see him as a visionary who proved that strategy and discipline could triumph over flair, while others label him a disruptor who drained creativity from the game. Perhaps the truth lies in between. His tactics weren't just defensive but revolutionary, reshaping football forever. What do you think, genius or villain? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and join us for more untold stories from the world of football. Stay tuned for more legends, tactics, and unforgettable moments.